Look mom, I'm a real vlogger now. Hey guys, what's happening? It is Dublin Store Championship time and it is great having it so local to me because it means that I get to have a relatively normal morning. I get to get up, have a good breakfast, watch some Super Rugby, always good, and I get to leave at a reasonable hour. I'll be full and set for the day, so hopefully all goes well. Get this into me, get the Lewis in, and fingers crossed all goes well. Hey, what's going on guys? Back with the Store Championship recap. Good day out. There were 17 players in all. The third anniversary of the third birthday of Netrunner Ireland as well. So there was also cake, which is always a plus. Very delicious. So thanks to Jerry for that. In the end I did go with Valencia, which was a given, and Palana, because I had been messing around with it a bit and had thought of some possible tech against Faust, which I expected to see everywhere. It'd be a bit rich of me to release a video about how good Faust is and how it's up to players to kind of counter that and then be here to complain about it, so I decided to do my own little part. Basically I put in Corporate Troubleshooter, the idea of it being that you bomb swordsman just beyond mimic range but just under David range and be able to take out Faust, which is pretty sweet. Good idea in theory. However, Faust and Wizard aren't as prevalent in Ireland as they seem to be everywhere else in the world, everywhere online. Instead, it is Haley that is ripping up the scene here. It's basically Owen from Cork. It's basically his fault. He was repping Haley a couple of tournaments back, and everyone saw it in action, saw how much money it was making, usual Shaper shenanigans, and also just coupled with just a lot of solutions to a lot of different decks, pretty much jack of all trades. This weekend there was 6. I think there was only a handful of Wizards by comparison. Corporate Troubleshooter, not as useful in that matchup, but I still managed to try a couple of tricks with it. So I'll put a link to the Valencia deck in the description below. I would love if you check it out, maybe comment on what you think could be improved, especially the NBN matchup that has caused me problems in the past. But definitely give it a whirl for yourself, see what you think, and any constructive feedback you can give be greatly appreciated. Just for the laugh, I will also put the Palana as a text description below, so you can see just how ridiculous the ice makeup is and how expensive everything gets very, very quickly. Game 1 was against Damien, a player that I enjoy playing in tournaments. Usually has some interesting takes on decks, something a bit out of left field, some interesting ideas, and I didn't quite get to see it in the Corp game. I was able to keep kind of poking around and did manage to pick up like a vanity project and another 2-pointer, so 6 points in one turn, which I thought was an immediate death sentence. I popped my Utopia shard to knock 2 cards out of his hand. Hail Mary, I didn't know what I was hoping to hit. Punitive, obviously. Maybe Sea Source, maybe something weird that he was going to do. Didn't die, so that's always a plus. And a few turns later ran Archives. He said that the win was in there for quite a while, but you know, I was taking my time, not rushing in. When you're 6 points up, you don't really want to be just pushing too hard and then killing yourself. So, did manage to pick up the win there. It does turn out later that he did have some interesting ideas. I won't spoil them now just in case you come up against his decks, but kind of disappointed I didn't see them, but also very glad, obviously. Then he was running as Haley up against Palana. It was a very close game, a very interesting, tense, just a great game to play. It did go to time. I was 6-5 up, so I had the time to win on my on my record. But he had one turn to play after I played a turn. He had just done an R&D dig, seeing 3 cards, and didn't hit an agenda. So I knew I wasn't going to score out. Nothing in hand, and nothing that didn't take you can really do in one turn. So I basically went all out on the defensive, put 2 ice on R&D, which I immediately regretted because I looked at it and did the math, and I was like, I cannot afford all of these, and especially if I want to, fire off a snare that I've put back in R&D for this exact purpose. And this is where you can decide for yourself whether it was good guy mark or scumbag mark that came out. He ran R&D, he was able to get down to the very last piece of ice, and was going to be 1 credit short. He would have been stopped. So I took it upon myself to go, wait a second, couldn't you clone chip back a cash or do something to get cash out, get your money, and be able to get in that way? So that is what he did. Nothing on the first. He had lost his last card to a shock that was in there. 3rd card was a snare. So I went from a timed win to a win. So, controversial. Game 2 was against Tony, one of the Limerick lads, and basically the reason that Valencia got changed in recent weeks. I previously said how Tour Guide with 10 subroutines stopped me, so Parasite went straight back into my deck. He didn't get quite the same start that he did the last time. Last time he got Lizzie Mills out like turn 1 and took away the bad pub, and it was just a downhill battle from there. This time though, he embraced the bad pub, started scoring out hostile takeovers, obviously getting a bit of agenda flooded, and I was able to run in, get a few, and finish out the game then fairly quickly. Did use the Utopia shard, legworked in, popped it, saw 3 useless cards, then run Archives and got the 2 agendas. So it doesn't always work quite as you hope, but the idea is good. And then it was Palana versus Kate. Prepaid Kate, back in action once again, with kind of big breakers as well, so Battering Ram, Garrote and Torch. And it was a tough one. It was a very tough match. Corporate sales team did wonders for me, but these games really showed how my ice makeup in Palana wasn't quite what it needs to be. It's very expensive stuff. There was a couple of games that I was on 25 to 30 credits and thought, okay, this is going well. Then they'd make one run and suddenly I'd be looking at my bank balance going, how do I have 4 credits? In the end, this game came down to basically one decision. I was ready to score out the last agenda. I had to install Advanced in the remote server that he could get into, but Caprice sitting at the bottom, holding down the fort. On R&D, he could also get into, so it's 50-50 shot, which way do you go? He decided to go for the guaranteed server with the agenda. I won the Psy game, which is what Psy games do, and managed to win the game that way. Turns out that at the top of R&D was an agenda, so very dramatic. This is why we play Netrunner. This is why we enjoy it so much. There's always that chance that something could go dramatically wrong or right either way. So a very interesting game, great game to play. 3rd game was up against Mark Walsh, a great player from Kilkenny, I believe. He was also breaking out a Haley deck, and he was playing NBN. Went up against NBN first, and that is, again it showed that Valencia sometimes struggles. I mean, the source can slow them down a little bit. He did have to res a Sansan for breaking news, which was nice, but I still wasn't set up in time. Wasn't good to go, and things just spiraled after there. And the Corp match, I saw Philotic Entanglement first, not the agenda you want to score first, before they have things in their score pile. And I scored it just to put a little bit of pressure, just to put myself on the board. But after that, Haley just got running. I didn't see the agendas. He did, and he played well. Got a couple of good side games, a couple of times taking advantage of the fact that I went broke, and just took me to town. So 4-2, still not the end of the world. And last game up against Owen. Again, he was breaking out his traditional Haley deck, but I was going up against his RP first. A match that I was curious to see because I started playing Valencia after RP fell out of fashion. I was happy with how things got set up. I had money, I was keeping on top of some of the assets, things like that, not letting him have Jacksons on the table too long. Problem was I got Wildside, not Chronotype, so I was playing a lot of it with 3 clicks, which not where you want to be against Replicating Perfection. He decided to go for the score, got rid of his Sundew, which I appreciated, popped in the Nisei and advanced once. So this was where the source came into play. He said afterwards that it did catch him by surprise, even though he knew about it, even though my deck has been talked about a little bit and has been seen at work. But he installed Advanced once, I popped down the source, got Love Good as well, and bought myself a turn basically. Next turn I did manage to get in, and we had some sort of mind meld. I think if Pacific Rim ever happens, myself and Owen could be a good partnership. Won that side game, took the Nisei. A few turns later, won another side game against Caprice. Was stopped by a Nisei token, but went back in again. Another side game, which I won, and took a future perfect. So I was feeling pretty good. But then things started to get away from me a little bit. He managed to get a future perfect scored, I believe, putting himself on game point. I think I managed to get another agenda to put me to 6. And then he went for it, install advance. I was running a little poor, but I went for it. It felt ridiculous that I was blackmailing through what turned out to be a Pup and Eli. Got through, won the side game with 3 credits left, and I accessed an NAPD. The worst thing is, I knew he was playing NAPDs because I saw one in archives earlier, but yeah, it's still good. In retrospect, I've been kind of like mulling over the games in my head. Did make one mistake in that I should have just used the card, just sacrifice something to Faust to ensure that I have the 4 credits. Yes, it would have made the side game a bit more of a lottery because he knew that if I accessed with 3 credits I couldn't steal it obviously. But yeah, who knows what could have happened. But again, it's a learning experience. 4-4 on the day, good enough for 8th, so I have another Leela deck box. In the end, Mark Walsh took home the title, beating Owen in the final, so great games throughout, really enjoyed the day out. So thank you for watching the video, I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out the decks, as I said. It is the end of Store Championship season, but it's not the end of this series. We still have some work to do, still have some improvements to make, and of course, we still have a tournament to win. So I'll catch you again with another video on Friday. Talk to you guys soon.